Meanwhile, Illinois American Water, the state's largest private water utility, is seeking a $142 million rate increase, which would raise typical residential water costs by around $14 per month. Typical wastewater customers would see an additional increase of around $28 per month. Aqua Illinois, the second largest private water utility, has asked regulators to approve a $26.5 million rate increase, which would raise average combined water bills by about $23 per month. The rate requests come at the same time as Illinois American's parent company, American Water, has sought regulatory approval to purchase Aqua Illinois parent company, Essential Utilities. Last month, Illinois American Water also bought Prairie Water Company, which formerly provided water to customers in 15 counties in north and central Illinois. Now, advocates warn that approval of the American Water and Essential Utilities merger would allow unprecedented market consolidation.